everybody, I'm Tabitha, and today I'm going to tell you to finish your book. If you're not a writer, it might seem strange when I tell you that one of the most common questions I get asked by new writers is, how do you finish a book? It sounds like it would require a simple answer, doesn't it? Just sit down and finish it. But sometimes our ideas start to fizzle in our head, making getting through that ending a huge problem.
Seriously, how do you finish it?
In my experience, there are 3 reasons why you may be struggling to finish your book. Today we're going to break down all 3 of those reasons, as well as my tips for getting past that sticking point. Problem number 1. It could go on forever. This tends to be a problem with writers who are conceptualizing something that may turn out to be a series. I get it. My Kingdom of Fronde series is currently sitting at 2 published books and 2 more waiting to come out. Unless you're planning on killing absolutely every character on that last page, realistically, these characters are going to continue to live on. So you have to decide where to end each book and ultimately where to end the final story. Here's my tip. Create an old plot diagram like the ones you used to use in school. Then, identify the major problem affecting your main character. Side problems have their place, of course, but that's not the one we want to look at today. Let's consider the original Hunger Games book as an example. The major problem affecting Katniss is that she needs to survive the 74th Hunger Games. Sure, there are side problems with love triangle and other people needing to survive it, how her family's going to fend for themselves, and even problems with President Snow. But those side problems are not what's driving the plot. What's driving the plot is Katniss's need to survive the 74th Annual Hunger Games. The next step here would be to identify what scene or chapter serves as your climax. What's the turning point for your story? What scene or chapter changes absolutely everything in regards to this major problem for your character? Finally, what scene or chapter solves this problem for your main character? An important note when you're trying to consider pacing and how to actually finish your book is that this book should end shortly after this major problem is solved. Sure, you might tie up a few other side storylines or a few other small problems, but really, if the main problem is over, we're ready for you to end your book. That being said, sometimes you may realize when you come to the end of this story and that major problem is solved, you're actually dealing with a series. Let's go back to the Hunger Games for example for a second. Sure, by the end of the time the 74th Games is over, we've solved that major storyline and the first book is done. But the solution to that storyline actually kicked some of the smaller problems into overdrive, like the one with President Snow, for example. So Suzanne Collins ended the first book here and carried over some of those things she needed to for the series. Know when to end your book. It should happen shortly after our major problem is resolved. But maybe that's not the reason you can't finish your book. Problem number 2, maybe you don't know what happens next. So sometimes I've heard authors tell me that maybe you've passed this point and you know what you want this point to look like, but it's what happens in between that's getting a little fuzzy. Here's my tip. Choose 3 possible routes your character can take to get from where you are now to the ending you know you want. The first one of those 3 possible routes should be calm and what you would consider perfectly normal for your character. The second one should be a little dramatic and involve introducing maybe a small problem or a small twist in what would be normal for your character. The third option should be very dramatic and involve either a large problem being introduced or something that would be very out of character for your main character. Let's say, for example, that we know we want the adorable high school couple to end up at the happy for now ending of prom. Maybe a calm choice is they go on a few cute little dates and them telling each other exactly how they feel and ending up in a happily for now ending at prom. Second option, with a little bit of drama, maybe there could be a misunderstanding where our female main character thinks she sees the other main character at the mall with another person, but ultimately the misunderstanding gets worked out and they end up happily for now at the prom. Our big drama ending could be something like one of the 2 characters actually gets hit by a car, and we have to have some cute scenes where they tell each other their feelings while also struggling to figure out how they get to continue their new normal, although they end up, maybe on crutches, happily for now at the prom. All 3 of these possible routes get me to the ending that I envisioned in my head, but you can see that they're very different. Once you've identified your 3 possible routes, here comes the tricky part. You're going to force yourself to write at least 90 words on each one of these paths. So in other words, pick up your story as where you stopped right now and write 90 words on the path A, 90 words on path B, 90 words on path C. 90 words is the absolute minimum here. And for this to work, you actually have to do all 3 paths. After you've written them all, read them over. Maybe one will jump out at you. Maybe you'll find a way you can combine 2 of them. Maybe you'll find a way to tweak one. The point is, you got your mojo back and you're moving past that sticking point. But maybe neither of these are the real reason why you haven't been able to finish your book. So problem number 3, I don't want it to be over. Sometimes we've fallen so in love with our characters that we don't want to stop writing them. Sometimes we know the ending we have planned is not a happy ending and we don't want to do that to them. Sometimes we love the process of writing this story so much that we don't want to stop. Here's my tip. There will always be other characters to love and other scenes to write. Write this one and move on. Because your readers want to love the characters too, and we can't do that if you don't finish writing it. All right, that's my advice for finishing your book. Drop a comment if you found something useful or if you have a question you'd like to tackle in a future episode. I want to say a special shout out today to all the middle and high school students who are participating with this channel in some of their writing classrooms with some of your amazing teachers. I promise to always keep it clean for you, and you guys are welcome to send me personal emails if your teacher doesn't want you dropping YouTube comments. Hi guys, welcome back to school. Thanks for watching today. Make sure to hit subscribe so you know when I'm back. Keep plotting the path to your dreams, and I will see you next time. Bye.